They said, Jordan, you walk around too much when you preach, and so they were like, we have to confine you to, that's all I get. I'm kidding. Ready for the word? I want to talk to you today from a thought. The title is Safe Place. Safe Place. Safe Place. We're going to say something a few times. I'm going to ask for the slide to be up there. We're going to say this a few times. Let's say this together. Come on. This is, I'm making sure this space is safe. My space is not just for me, but everyone in my world, present and future. We're going to be in 2 Samuel chapter 8. 2 Samuel chapter 8, and it's about David, and you guys know David, right? It's the shepherd boy turned hero because he beat the ugly giant Goliath, and we know all the kids' stories about that, and he's anointed king way before he takes the throne. There's so many awesome stories about David, and now we come to 2 Samuel chapter 8. 2 Samuel chapter 8. He had just become king around 2 Samuel chapter 5. He had just become king, and then in 2 Samuel chapter 7, actually, God makes a covenant, like what Simon was talking about. God makes a covenant with David and says, I'm going to make sure that one of your descendants always sits on the throne. And we know that through generations, Jesus is actually a descendant of David, and Jesus forever sits on the throne. He's of the line of David, and so God kept his promise. God kept his covenant with David. And because we see David through his life, that he acts as a good king, a right king, just king, we can see the shadow, the foreshadow of Christ. And so even though David wasn't perfect, because nobody besides Jesus was, David wasn't perfect. He had his mess ups. He did things wrong. He slipped up like he did all the stuff that we would do. David always went back to God. He always ran back to God. And so, because he always ran back to God, God always protected him. God always kept him. God always kept his promise, his covenant, his line on the throne, and forever sits Jesus on the throne. And so here we go. We see King David. He becomes king, chapter 5, and right into it. I mean, he goes right to work as king. Again, people that got baptized, this is not the time to get relaxed. It's not like, yay, like I finally made it and I'm done. This is the time to be on your guard. This is the time when the enemy, right, wants to come in and try to distract you, right? He doesn't need to destroy you right away. He just needs to distract you. Weapons of mass distraction, like he's gonna try to throw you off and get you. Yes, you can go out with your family after service and go eat and have a great time, but I want you to stay alert. I want you to stay on your guard. So 2 Samuel 8, chapters 1 through 14, and we're gonna see why we all of us, not just those that got baptized, whether you've been saved 30, 40 years, why we have to stay on our guard. Verses 1 through 14, it says, in the course of time, David defeated the Philistines and subdued them, and he took Metheg-Ammah from the control of the Philistines. That was the capital city. David also defeated the Moabites. He made them lie down on the ground and measured them off with the length of a cord. Every 2 lengths of them were put to death, and the 3rd length was allowed to live. It's brutal. So the Moabites became subject to David and brought him tribute. Moreover, David defeated Hadadezer, son of Rehob, king of Zobah, when he went to restore his monument at the Euphrates River. David captured 1,000 of his chariots, 7,000 charioteers, and 20,000 foot soldiers. He hamstrung all but 100 of the chariot horses. When the Arameans of Damascus came to help Hadadezer, king of Zobah, David struck down 22,000 of them. He put garrisons in the Aramean kingdom of Damascus, and the Arameans became subject to him and brought tribute. The Lord gave David victory wherever he went. That's the first time it says that in these verses. The Lord gave David victory wherever he went. David took the gold shields that belonged to the officers of Hadadezer and brought them to Jerusalem. From Teba and Berothai, towns that belonged to Hadadezer, King David took a great quantity of bronze. When Tau, king of Hamath, heard that David had defeated the entire army of Hadadezer, he sent his son Joram to King David to greet him and congratulate him on his victory in the battle over Hadadezer, who had been at war with Tau. Joram brought with him articles of silver, of gold, and of bronze. King David dedicated these articles to the Lord, as he had done with the silver and gold from all the nations he had subdued. Edom and Moab, the Ammonites and the Philistines and Amalek. He also dedicated the plunder taken from Hadadezer, son of Rehob, king of Zobah. And David became famous after he returned from striking down 18,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. He put garrisons throughout Edom, and all the Edomites became subject to David. The Lord gave David victory wherever he went. That's twice. The Lord gave David victory wherever he went. These first 14 verses are all about these accomplishments and great victories that David had. And I love it that it says the Lord gave David victory wherever he went, but he had to went. He had to go. He had to realize there was a threat somewhere. He had to go there and fight the battles. God gave him victory, but he had to do something. He did his part. God did his part. And then it says, verse 15, and David reigned over all Israel, doing what was just and right for all his people. So we see David now becomes king. He settles into Jerusalem, into the capital city of Israel, the promised land. This is the land God gave them, said, this is yours. And he gave them borders. And he says, from this river to this land to this over here, for this is all yours. And now David is at the center in Jerusalem, ruling over the kingdom of Israel. And then David now settles into his kingship, and he takes a look around. Takes a look around. Let's show the map. You have the Arameans and the Damascus, which would be nowadays Syria up there. So you have this Syria, that's where Hadadezer was up there. So all north, those were their armies up there. And then to the east of Jerusalem, we have the Ammonites and the Moabites. And then to the south of Jerusalem, you have the Amalekites and the Edomites. And then to the west of Jerusalem, you have the Philistines. And so David settles into his kingdom, right, of Israel, and he looks around. He looks north, he looks south, he looks east, he looks west, and he says, there's too many enemies around me. They're not inside the promised land. They're not inside Israel yet, but they're just too close for comfort. This doesn't sit well with me. I got to push them back a little bit more. Because sooner or later, they're going to grow. They're going to maybe get some confidence. They're going to sneak in little by little and start to take up land that was promised to me by my God. Oh, these ideologies or these thought processes, these people that are thinking a certain way, it's just too close for comfort. I can't allow this to be around me. I can't allow this to be too close to me. I gotta take care of it. I gotta get rid of it. I gotta subdue. I gotta make sure these enemies are subject to, that I'm not subject to them. So David goes out, and he goes north, and he goes south, and he goes east, and he goes west, all around him. He makes sure that they're not a threat any longer. He could have overlooked some of them, like the Philistines, maybe. Like, man, I know they've been a nuisance for generations, since Genesis chapter 20. I mean, David's first kill was Goliath, right? The big ugly giant. That was a Philistine. Like, that was his first kill. Like you got to take care of them. But maybe some of the other ones might have just been chilling around, and they were in their land. And I mean, even the Moabites. I mean, Moab, they started bad. I mean, if we know the story, there's Lot. Back in Genesis, and Lot was with his two daughters, and his two daughters wanted to get pregnant, and so they got their dad drunk and slept with their own dad and got pregnant. And so out of them come Ammon and Moab, so that's the Ammonites and the Moabites, and now they become enemies of Israel. But they were over there, and David actually had family that was in Moab. I mean, his great-grandmother, if we remember, Ruth, she was a Moabite. So his family was over there. Some believe that his mom and dad actually went to go live in Moab. But he said, no. This is too close for comfort. They don't align with the kingdom of God. The way they're thinking doesn't align with God's kingdom. The way they're acting doesn't align with God's kingdom. And so I can't be around that. I can't let them be around me. I can't let them surround me. And so, man, north, south, east, west, I got to take care of these things. I see the whole battlefield. It's not just over here or just over here. I see the whole battlefield. And when we look nowadays, our battlefields, it's in our minds, it's in our emotions, it's in our feelings. It's a different kind of battlefield. And God sees the whole battlefield. And he sees all the enemies trying to creep in from different places. And he's like, hey, that's a little too close. You got to protect your heart. You got to protect your mind. You got to protect your emotions. You got to protect your family. You got to protect your kids. You got to protect your faith. You got to protect your calling. These things don't line up with the kingdom. And so now I'm out to dethrone some of these principalities that are surrounding me and getting too close. Like, no. This won't stand. This won't do in my life. First point, protect your space. Protect your space. I said, Simon was talking about he was in Germany. Literally the day before he went to Germany, we flew back. We were in South Africa, in Eswatini, and we happened to go on a safari. And part of the safari, you get to go see lions, and you get to see cheetahs and leopards, and you're seeing all these awesome things. And some of the cute animals, like the gazelles and the impalas and the kudus, right? I mean, they're just like McNuggets out there. Like lions are just looking for them, right? And you would see the warthogs and the wildebeest, which are not so cute, but we still love them, right? Pumbaa, whatever his name, right? Pumbaa, yes? Lion King? No? Something like that? Pumbaa, whatever. You see them eating, right? You always see them eating, and then they're always like this. Always looking, always alert, always watching their surroundings. And you would actually see a lot of the animals eating different ways. So this one's watching this way, and this one's watching this way, and this one's watching this way, and this one's watching this way. Because they never know when one of those cats, I mean, they don't just run in. They're sneaking up. They're camouflaged in with that grass, and they're sneaking up, and they're just lying in wait to devour one of these poor little deer-like animals. And these things, like they gotta be alert or they're gonna get killed. You know what it is being a New Yorker, right? You're walking and you're looking like, you pretend you're looking like at the ground or your shoulder, but you're really looking around. You're looking behind you. You're making sure of your surroundings. Last night, I was away and my plane landed at 11:30, and some guy, there was like, I don't know why in Terminal 5 JFK, just a little nugget for you. There's no taxis. It's you have to like take an Airbus or something like that, like another plane to the taxi stand. And there was this guy who was like, taxi. I was like, taxi? Yep, let's go. I got in the car, and then I was like, I don't know this guy. I just gave him my home address. Like, should I be in this car? Mm-hmm. And I'm not kidding. 50 times by the time we got home, I was looking because he had like an SUV, and there was like a cover, and I don't know if a guy was going to pop out of that, and like, who knows? But I'm skeptical, and so I'm like making sure my surroundings are okay, and I'm like, looking out. And so like we've got to start being intentional about this and looking around and see what's creeping up. We have to be aware of our surroundings and be protective of our personal space because you never know what's creeping in. And listen, it never comes full on force. It's always in an innocent way. It always starts with a little bit here and a little bit there, but slowly inching closer and closer, these things start to creep into the promised land, into our space, and now like we start to like dabble in some stuff, and it's not so bad, and before you know it, we have to secure what God's given us, the things that He's entrusted us with. I shared this before when we did our singles panel. You ever see somebody who gets a brand new pair of white sneakers? They are so protective over those things, right? They're checking. They take them out the box. They put them on the floor. Sometimes like they'll like go to a place like picking them up, wear like slides, and then when they get to the place, then you put them on because you don't want to dirty the bottom of those sneakers from outside. Like you're checking the weather app. What am I walking into? What's outside? Is there going to be a puddle? When you have those things, when you're protective, when you're like, man, these are clean, they're white, they're beautiful, like they're spotless, it affects how you walk. It affects why you walk, where you walk, when you walk, how you walk, what you walk into. When we see ourselves as that white sneaker, we don't want it to get creases, we don't want it to get scuffs. We should be more protective. You ever go to a museum and you see like a painting and you're like, man, my 6-year-old could do that. And they're like, well, that's Picasso. And you're like, oh, that's amazing. He's a genius. Or you're like, man, those sneakers are ugly. They're Gucci. Oh, wow. Oh, my bad. Yeah. I love those things. Those are amazing. Why? Because the creator matters. The one that designed it mattered. If we knew who we were designed by, who we were created from, that he designed us and we're valuable, why would we put ourselves in that situation? Sometimes I hear people say, oh, there's too many rules, there's too many, like this is no fun, there's too many things to watch out for. You know when you're signing up for something on the internet or at a bank or whatever, right? There's the terms and conditions, and there's a box that says, have you read it? And you know you haven't read it, but you click it anyway because it's too long and too much fine print. These are God's terms and conditions. Read it. God, the service provider, us as the user, he just wants to protect us. He just wants to tell you, hey, I just want to be, I know the ways to go. Like when I tell my daughters, we just came back from vacation and we were on the beach and some of them are swimming too far out. I'm like, hey, get back, you're too far out. And they're like, oh, Dad, you're being overprotective. I'm like, yeah, I'd rather be over than under. I've been through some things. I know how some things work out. Like, I'd rather you not do that or go that way. And that's God. God's just like, man, I love you so much. I gave you the instruction manual. I gave you my terms and conditions. If you would just read it, I could protect you from some stuff. Those friends out there, man, they have nothing to do with what I've called you to do. Ladies, that guy, stay away from that guy. Fellas, stay away from that girl. Yes, she's hot, but hell is hotter. Some of us need an ice bucket challenge. When you go to a restaurant, you see the thing reserved on the table. Why? It's saying, this is for somebody already. You cannot sit here. It says occupied, it's set apart. Sorry, you can't sit with us. We need to protect our space, our boundaries, our borders. Our borders are lots of doors with locks on them that only you and I can open. We open our own borders, we open our own boundaries. Like we all live in 4 walls, right? We all have 4 walls, whether it's apartment or house, whatever it is. You all have 4 walls, you all have locks on them. You decide who can come in and who can come out. You are excited about certain people coming over, and some of those people, they can show up whenever. Then you're annoyed at other people coming over. You might let them in from time to time. Then there's some people, they're on the do not enter list. They cannot come in. And in life, I want to be unapologetic about some of that stuff. I want to say, no, you can't come in here. You might have been in here before, but you acted up, and now I got to say bye. And if you come back, I got to get a little bit more aggressive with it and say, you're not welcome here. This is my space. I don't need your toxicity. I don't need your negativity. I don't need your drama. I don't need all that other stuff that you come with. No thanks. Listen, I think I've gone through a border 6 times the last 3 weeks. And every time you go through a border, you are asked, they say stop. They say identify yourself. And they say state your purpose. Stop, identify yourself, state your purpose. Stop, identify yourself, state your purpose. We have to be careful what and who we let in our heads, in our minds, in our lives. Bad thoughts, bad images, bad influences. They don't get to live here rent-free. Sorry, but no. I say who has access and who doesn't. When those things come into my life, whether it's people, whether it's images, whether it's thoughts, I say stop, Identify yourself, state your purpose. And if your purpose doesn't align with the purpose of God over my life, access denied. You cannot come in here. I don't know why we do this to ourselves. I want to draw the lines and I want to make them clear. I want to make sure that I want people in my life that are celebrating with me, that are fighting with me, that are cheering me on, that are like moving ahead with me, that are inspiring me to be better. And hopefully I'm doing the same for them. We're breaking limits together. We're building together. We're being better together. And so if I want those things, if that's provision for me, then anything anti-vision, I don't want it in my life. And so my security is heightened. There's too much at stake and no time to waste. So I will protect myself. I'll protect my kids and my future and my calling and my family at all times, no matter what. And I want to be unapologetic about it. The relationship should be mutually beneficial. And listen, I was talking with Nora before. She told me something she does with her clients because she's a therapist. And she said, you know, if you're a landlord and you have someone that's not paying rent, that's not contributing, what do? You evict them. You have to go. The relationship should be mutually beneficial. Who in your life is building you up and making you better, and you should be doing the same for those people. Why do we do this to ourselves relationally and sexually? We flirt with danger without realizing how much is at stake, how valuable we are, who designed us, and what or even who we were created for. Our hearts and feelings are not punching bags. We have to be careful with who we allow into our lives. Why do we do this to ourselves emotionally and mentally? We allow people's voices in. We allow negativity in, and fear and lies of the enemy and insecurity and guilt and shame. You know, like how on social media you have the unfollow button or you have the mute button. It works in real life too. Unfollow, unfriend, mute, goodbye. I don't need that in my life. Off my page, out my life, out my house. You are not welcome here. I don't want to see you on my doorstep. I don't want to see you on my front lawn. I don't want to see you on my way to work. I don't want to see you anywhere I go for another day in my whole life. Verse 14, the Lord gave David victory wherever he went, but he had to go. He had to do something about it. God did his part. David had to do his part. In verse 15, David reigned over all Israel, doing what was just and right for all his people. This is my space. It's a God space. I'm making sure this space is a safe place. This space is not just for me, but everyone in my world, present and future. His lives at stake. Point two. Point two. Grow your space. Like a baby in a womb, it cannot stay there. If it's going to grow, if it's going to stretch, if it's going to contribute to the world, if it's going to mature, it has to leave where it is, right? We don't want less. Nobody wants less here. We all want more. We want to grow. We want to expand. We want to enlarge. We want all that God has for us. Jabez called upon God of Israel. This is 1 Chronicles 4:10. He says, oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my border, and that your hand might be with me, and that you would keep me from harm, so that is always a purpose word. It might not bring me pain, and God granted what he asked. He asked, he received. Let's start praying. Let's start fighting. Let's start expanding our territories. The more you pray, the more you spend time with God, the more room you have to grow. The more you're fighting the enemies and pushing them back, the more room you have to grow. North, south, east, west, all around us. Why? There's always a so that. Why do we want more? It should have more to do with Jesus and others than just for us, right? We want to be better. We want to do better. We want to be stronger. We want to mature. We want more to do more and be more and bless more. We don't want more for more's sake. We want more of him and less of us. More truth, less lies. More righteousness, less unrighteousness. More light, less dark. more of him, less of this world, more kingdom of heaven and less kingdom of darkness. Listen, we fly under the authority, under the kingdom of heaven. We're flying his flag. We're on his team. There's only one way. There's two sides here. There's the kingdom of heaven. There's the kingdom of darkness. There's no in the middle. I don't want to offend anyone. I lean this way or I lean this way. Man, we are in the kingdom of heaven. This is where we stand. This is what matters. It's God's kingdom's terms and conditions, and I want all of it. Now, if I take things out of one place and I put them in another, that place shrinks, this place grows, right? If I'm taking stuff out of one thing and I'm adding it here, that shrinks, this grows. And so as I'm fighting enemies and I'm winning battles and I'm subduing my sinful nature, my thoughts, my attitude, I take them out of the kingdom of darkness and I put them in the kingdom of heaven. And as I'm doing that, I'm growing. I take my money out of the kingdom of darkness and I put them in the kingdom of heaven. As I'm doing that, oh, I'm breaking things. Hey, that's a whole nother sermon. My language, my time, my actions, I'm taking them out of the kingdom of darkness and I'm putting them in the kingdom of heaven. My self-confidence, my pride, my ego, I'm taking them out of the kingdom of darkness and I'm putting it in the kingdom of heaven. My relationships, my friendships, our marriages, our singleness, our sexuality, our identity, I'm taking them out of the kingdom of darkness and I'm putting them in the kingdom of heaven. Our offenses, I'm taking them out of the kingdom of darkness, I'm putting them in. My need for approval, my need for attention, my whatever, my passions, my desires, I'm taking them out of the kingdom of darkness and I'm putting them in the kingdom of heaven. And all the while I'm growing and I'm growing and I'm growing and I'm putting them here. As that shrinks, this grows. It's more of him and less of me, right? More kingdom of heaven, less kingdom of darkness. And I'm putting them here. Why? Because here there's maturity, and here there's freedom, and here there's life, and here there's hope, and here there's healing, and here there's forgiveness. There's growth and safety here in the kingdom of heaven. See, the enemy came to kill and rob and destroy. Jesus came to bring you life and life in abundance. He didn't come to take anything away from you or mess up your fun. Man, he's got so much. He's got the best stuff for us. But see, the kingdom of darkness is constantly trying to snuff out the kingdom of light. And I say, hey, let's fight back. Let's bring more light into this world. Let's push back the gates of hell and scream, the gates of hell shall not prevail against us. We're pushing back. Three, patrol your space. Patrol your space. We've got to start being intentional. We've got to start focusing. We got to start dedicating some time and looking around and inspecting carefully and saying north and south and east and west and looking around and seeing if, what enemies or what things are just too close, or maybe I'm spending a little bit too much time on Instagram or social media, or I've been talking to this person a little bit too much and they're really not great for me, and this is happening over here. And during COVID, you were stuck in your house, and so you got addicted to, like, I don't know, Kardashians or whatever show that started off okay, but now it's everything, and I don't read, I don't pray, like I'm stuck on reality TV, or I'm stuck on this show, and like things now just kind of took over my life, and I didn't even realize it. I don't want to just go to the north and see what enemy is over there. God wants to do a complete work in my life, like all around me, making sure I'm winning wars here and here and here and here, so that I'm who he called me to be all around, not just in one little place. Oh, because he's got so much for me. This is a whole life transformation, not just one part. So I'm like, let's do whatever it takes. Let's get some people in our lives. Let's get a pastor or a ministry leader. Let's start to talk to them. Let's get a therapist. I suggest a Christian therapist. Let's get some friends in our life that are like, hey, be honest with me. I need you to look around. I need you to take a look around my space and tell me, do you see anything creeping up? Like, what's a threat? What do I need to defeat? What do I need to subdue? What are you seeing around me that's just a little too close, that's about to destroy me, that's about to take me over? And listen, we all mess up. I get it. We all mess up. I'm with you. Some of us a little bit more than others. Some of us got issues looking like a big plate of pasta, don't know where one starts, one ends. It's all entangled in there. It's just like. But when we mess up, we don't stay messed up. When we fall, we don't stay fallen. We messed up. Okay, now what? What do you do now? What do you do now? Because it's what you do next that matters more than what you did. What you do next matters more than what you did. You messed up, what do you do now? What do you do now? You correct that thing. You correct that thing. David reigned over all Israel, doing what was just and right for all his people. It's not just about you. It's not just about this moment. This is bigger than you. This affects everybody in your household, anybody in your space, all your friends, all your relations. This affects everything. This is my space. It's the God space. I'm making sure this space is a safe place. This space is not just for me, but everyone in my world, present and future. So I correct that thing because it's about my future. It's about my marriage, my life, my kids' kids, my kids' kids, my grandkids. Like the next generation depends on what I do now. In music, there's playing the piano, and I'm not musical, but I found this out. There's something called a passing note. The other term for it is a tonal note, a tonal note. It happens when you mess up, you hit the wrong key, but you can actually correct that by the next key that you hit. Miles Davis said, if you hit the wrong note, it's the next note that determines if it's good or bad. We'll see how good Chris is. He's playing over here, and we're just gonna try to mess him up, because that just sounds like fun. And so if I hit this key, one more. If I hit this key, when we mess up, Jesus is always the next note. It's called an atonal note. Jesus died to make atonement for our mess ups, for our sins, for whatever we did. Like, I get it, we messed up. What do you do next? You go to Jesus. You play that note every single time, and he keeps the song going. There's not a break in the song. There's like the symphony keeps going. It actually gets better. Because you're like, oh, that should have been a mess up. Oh, but Jesus can take it and flip it and turn it into a beautiful testimony. And he's like, look what I can do. I can make all things work for the good of those who love me. If you would just come to me when you got that mess up, I get it. We ask for forgiveness and we keep playing on. When our space, We've been singing it. We're going to get back into it. Singers, you come out. When our space is built on terms and conditions, on His Word, it's a firm foundation. It's not going anywhere. Things are going to come in, but when I'm in His Word, He's warning me. He's saying, Jordan, look behind you. There's something creeping up. When I'm in His Word and I'm spending time with Him, He's like, Jordan, look to your right, look to your left. Like, there's some things that are taking over your life that you probably shouldn't be looking at that stuff, or you probably shouldn't be entertaining that person, or you probably shouldn't be doing this or that. And He creates a safe place. He keeps me safe from the enemies that are surrounding me.